Hello everyone, welcome back. This weekend just gone, we had Lauren Price versus Natasha Jonas, and Lauren Price was really, really good. Sort of almost won every round. It was just her speed. Her speed just really did kill her. Speed of hand, her speed of foot. Natasha Jonas spent a lot of the fight trying to time the leads of Lauren Price, and she just couldn't do it because by the time she was trying to time Lauren Price and trying to fire back with her counter shot, trying to time her, Lauren Price had already landed with her second and third. So she just really couldn't deal with the speed of hand and the speed of footwork. Now, great performance. I think Lauren Price is going to give anyone a real problem with the way that she competes, the way that she can do the distance at a super high pace, seemingly without making a dent in her fuel tank, and the sort of accuracy of her punches, the amount and volume of her punches. She is just a real problem. The way she gets in and out, gets out of the way of her opponent's shots, and just a fantastic performance. But now, I was a bit dubious about making this video. And I was speaking to Joe Stunner about this, and he said, no, let's make a good topic. So I'm just going to give you my thoughts. And this is not an accusation because I have absolutely no proof, and there's absolutely no proof to suggest otherwise. But it was just my thoughts upon watching Lauren Price. And first of all, I looked at her physique, and when I was looking at her traps and her delts, they really did look a little bit saucy, shall we say, to me. Now, Lauren Price could just be a genetic phenom. She could be one of those people in the 0.100% of people who is just genetically gifted, super genetically gifted, and she could just have the genetic makeup. She responds fantastically to resistance training of any sort, and she is just, as I say, just a genetic phenom. So that could quite easily be the case. But when I was looking at her, I was thinking she had really developed delts, really almost for a woman, really sort of boulder shoulders, and she also had quite pronounced traps as well. If you looked under the straps of her sort of the bra sports top she was wearing, you could see the angle of her traps like that. And if you compare her to the fella, she who was in the Olympics, the one who he was a trans athlete. Was he from Argentina? Something like that, I can't remember. She had a more muscular and manly physique than what he did. And with the use of anabolics, usually the area that will always give it away, sort of over any other, is the delts and the traps. And this is for a couple of reasons. First off, the muscle fibers around the delts and the traps are largely fast twitch muscle fibers, which really respond well to the stimulus of hypertrophy, for one reason. And they also have a large concentration of androgen receptors around the delts and the traps. So when you see an athlete, or especially in the bodybuilding world, or someone who starts to use anabolics or steroids, the first places that it will really show are usually the traps and delts. And I just looked at Lauren Price, looked at her shoulders, looked at her traps, and when she was in her stance, I was looking at her biceps as well, and to me looked like, unless, as I say, she is just a genetic freak, and if she is, and if it's hard work, absolutely no problems. But I just couldn't help wondering, and I was also the fact that she managed to do that pace for the 10-round distance was just phenomenal as well. And sort of the use of anabolics can also increase red blood cell count. Not always, but can a lot of the time. And you increase red blood cell count, you increase oxygen carrying, and then oxygen supply to where it's needed, muscles, everything else. So you increase the amount of oxygen you can hold and increase the amount of oxygen that you can deliver. This is why in sports like cycling, EPO and blood doping were so popular. People would, and this is another area of doping that really doesn't get talked about a lot, is blood doping, where you just put in extra blood, and you put in extra blood because with extra blood you can carry extra oxygen, and with an extra oxygen supply, if you can equate this to cars, can't you? It's why the more oxygen or the more air you can get into a car's engine, the more combustion you can create. So that was another thing, was just the fact that she could do that pace really, really comfortably over the distance. And then Tasha Jonas afterwards, after the fight, said that she hit a lot harder than she expected. And you will hit harder. You will hit harder. If you are on any type of gear, any type of anabolic, you're going to hit harder. It's why a lot of the sprinters now, traditionally, anabolics are not really the ideal. They're not sort of, anabolics are not ideal for boxing, because boxing is kind of a mix of two sports. So boxing is it's an explosive sport where explosive power is very, very important, but it's also a stamina sport, and anabolics usually don't bode well for stamina sports, especially when you get, it's relative. So when you get the big guys, like when you get Tommy Morrison suffered for his use of steroids because he was so big, so muscled up that he just couldn't keep the stamina with it. It took so much to supply that muscular frame and those muscles. You just couldn't be sustained over a long period of time. But when you get the females who are lighter, smaller, and if you get whatever substance you were using correct and you optimize it for its, purpose, i.e. boxing, then it can still work. You can still have a good stamina range while also gaining the effects of explosiveness, strength, power, and all the other stuff. Plus the mental effects as well, which are not really talked about. But the mental effects of steroids and performance enhancing drugs are a massive sort of advantage as well. So, like I said, I may be completely wrong. And I hope I am wrong, and this is not an accusation. All I'm doing is sharing with you my thoughts on the night. And there was just a lot of markers and a lot of indicators. And if any of you know James Smith is like an online fitness guru. He's brilliant, James Smith. If you're not aware of him, go look him up, James Smith. But he uses it's a saying he uses, and he says, if you hear hooves on the ground outside the door, then it may be a donkey, but chances are it's probably a horse. And what he means by that is if all the signs are there, and probably, and going back to the Tommy Morrison sort of comparison, not really comparison, but back in those days, it was not, the science was not as good as it is now. The administration of these things is not as good as it now. The science isn't as good. The knowledge wasn't as good. So it was very obvious. You saw the likes of Tommy Morrison, Evander Holyfield, and fighters like that. And it was very, very obvious. The science wasn't as good then to be able to engineer these substances into A, sort of getting under the radar, B, engineering the use of substances to be specifically tailored towards that sport and be specifically beneficial towards that sport. Whereas now it's got a lot better. Now you find that, you can microdose anabolics, and you can sort of almost escape a test because the traces that will be administered in such micro doses, almost mirroring the way the body works. The human body, especially in males, we release and produce testosterone early in the morning. So in the AM, the body releases small amounts of male hormone in the morning, in the AM, every day, in micro amounts like that. And this is how they've started to administer it in sport to escape testing. You're not going to go testing every time. And sometimes I do wonder, is this why they pop? Are they just unlucky enough to get tested on a day when they've had a microdose or whatever? But like I said, I was thought about this video. I thought, should I make this video? I don't know, because I don't want it to sound like I'm accusing. All I'm doing is sharing my thoughts, what I had on the night. And I watched Lauren Price, And I just, within the first 2 rounds, I'm looking at her physique and I'm thinking, wow, she is either top of the tier food chain when it comes to genetics, or there's, you know, you can see a lot of women, if anyone who spent time in gyms, you'll see women who can train for years, natural, never look like that, never get shoulders like that, never get traps like that, don't have that super high cardiovascular output, and don't have that strength as well. Now, I did look on Lauren Price's Instagram, and there is a lot of photos of her in the gym, in the weightlifting gym, in the strength and resistance gym. So she's obviously a fan of that as well. But again, anyone who spent time in strength and resistance gyms will know that the use of supplements, because that's how they're thought of, is just commonplace. It's commonplace. But again, all I can do is reiterate that I'm not accusing Lauren Price. I'm just sharing with you my thoughts, and I just thought there are a lot of indicators there that would fall in line with the results and use of some kind of performance enhancing drug. And I may be wrong. I probably am wrong, but I thought I'd share with you that. Like I say, the shoulders and the traps, the delts and the traps are always an instant sign, especially on a male. And then you see them on a female, and you just think, I don't know. Anyway, I'll see you all soon. I'm out.